Welcome to another in the series of our Yardi Living series of videos, and today I'm joined by Matt Smith from Allsop. Matt, thanks so much for joining me today, really appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing about your experiences of Yardi and the business. To start off, it'd be nice to know a little bit more about you and the Allsop business.
Allsop Lettings and Management. We've been going over 25 years now.
Cool.
We're part of Allsop Limited Liability Partnership, so we're a wholly owned subsidiary of the LLP.
Yeah.
So Allsop's been going over 100 years now.
I know, it's extraordinary. I've been looking at your magazine and seeing all the history and the alumni.
Yeah, indeed. We've got quite an illustrious alumni, shall I say.
Yes.
So I've been at Allsop 7.5 years now. I've been CEO for 3. And
how's that working out?
It's tiring. No, it's a challenge. We're growing quite quickly. We knew 6-7 years ago that we wanted to get into BTR in a serious way. We probably weren't one of the early movers, but we sort of strategically planned our sort of entrance to that market. And it's been a bit of a transition now from old world PRS and leasehold, and we're now much more focused on built to rent in multifamily terms and in single family housing terms. So we'll probably finish this financial year on around 8,500 units.
Wow.
Which is
it's extraordinary.
It is. It is considering 4 years ago we were maybe at 2,500 units.
So with that kind of growth and clients coming to you, you're obviously doing something right.
I hope so.
What's the secret sauce? I know you don't want to give away too much, but it'd be good to get a little bit of insight into, I guess, why such growth and why clients are coming to Allsop to help with the management of their assets. Yeah.
So it's multifaceted, really. It's not one thing that's sort of resulted in it. I think probably 3.5 years ago, when I took over, I wanted to perhaps reposition the business ever so slightly. I think we had a solid reputation.
Yes.
I think we were seen as institutionally robust in terms of our reporting, but it could probably be more detailed and more accessible. And I think I wanted to build on what had already sort of gone in terms of establishing ourselves as a solid customer service based organisation. Yes. So if you can get the customer service piece right, then your customers are happy, but then you want your clients to be happy as well. And
of course.
And that was really we needed to provide them with more data and much more accessible data.
Yeah. Which kind of leads me nicely into my question. I mean, we met, I don't know whether it was 3 years ago maybe, and I was just talking about it being at the Resi Awards, I think. Was I the sober one or was you? I don't know, but at the Resi Awards. And from there we had various conversations and about systems and architecture. And one of the things I think would be really good to understand is before you put in a Yardi system, what were the challenges you faced? Because obviously you had a reputation for, as a safe pair of hands for institutional backed real estate. But what were the challenges before you put Yardi in? So
I think if you're gonna scale a business, you need to know truly what your cost base is.
Yeah.
You need to be able to predict that, not for 3,000 units, but for 10,000 units. You need to make it so that it's the infrastructure that you're creating can sustain it.
Yes.
So we knew at that time, 3 years ago, we had ambitions to be a bigger business, and we knew if we were going to be a bigger business, we needed to appeal to the institutions that we were already starting to attract. Yes. So at the time, our management system was quite disparate in so much as we had a property management software solution, but the marketing sort of platform that was attached to that was a separate system. So I wanted the two to talk to each other.
Did you have a separate accounting? And
so our accounting function was sat within property management.
Yes.
But possibly not as accessible for our clients.
Yes.
So the aim, we obviously have an aim in so much as providing greater detail, greater access to data. At the time, it was a closed system. So But the front end piece, especially, I think our CRM system was limited.
Yes.
So I think the data we were getting on our potential customers was, as a result of that, was sort of limited, and that in turn means we can't provide an insight to our clients. That has changed now. We had our own marketing platform, which we were having to maintain, and we had servers as a result of property management and marketing platform. Both required sort of quite expensive servers and an infrastructure that is it's costly to maintain.
I imagine the total cost of ownership was quite high, all that disparate infrastructure.
The cost of ownership, cost of maintenance, cost of running it. And every time a legislative sort of change is made, we would be going into our system to work out whether or not that, what needed to happen.
How do we comply? I mean, we're doing that right now with the renters' rights bill. So, no, it's a big issue, isn't it?
It is.
And actually, at Yardi, we have one of the things that's super important, because it's not just the UK; it's across the world, and the compliance team have a full-on job of just keeping up to date and keeping the systems up to date. So it's a great point. So that was then, and they were the challenges, and we've been through an implementation. Deep breath. And actually, you guys have been fantastic to work with. So, your team has been, I can't congratulate you enough how good your team is and some of the really great people you've got. But it'd be great to understand, after the implementation, we're a little way on, what's the impact that you've seen on your business? What you mentioned some challenges, but what are the positive impacts that you've seen since implementing the Yardi residential suite?
The primary benefit really has been, I'm going into a room with both current and potential clients. There is an institutional acceptance of Yardi. There's a comfort to that. I don't have to work very hard to explain what my system architecture is. I don't have to work very hard to sort of give them comfort that I can prior to this I would have demonstrated the financial reports, but now I can do that, and I've got a third party accreditation.
Because you have access to the data, and they're confident that you can give them the data they require.
Correct. And then what we're able to do now is overlay, we've at the same time as moving to Yardi, we've brought in a Microsoft 365 environment, so we're completely wedded to that now. We are a cloud-based business, so the ability to be able to flex, and especially with single family housing where you have remote property managers, local to regions, not necessarily always office based, Yardi's enabled us to do that. We also have clients who operate on their own instance of Yardi but want us to hold the pen on it.
Got it.
We've been able to help them design their Yardi system for the UK. They might operate in another jurisdiction.
Actually, that has been one of the things, and we've benefited from that, because I think you've helped drive their usage of Yardi residential instead of just being the investment suite. So that's something we've seen on the other side. So thank you for that.
So I mean, I think it's led to more innovation as well. I think it's, I came from an asset management background. I want to see data. I want to be able to analyse and assess what's going on right now, and I want to be able to judge things on almost down to the unit level, or looking at the demographic type. And I think the flexibility that Yardi's enabled us to do that has meant that we can create a USP for our business now.
And I think the other thing I would just add to that is, I would definitely concur with that and have seen that, but I would also add, and a shout out for members of your team who actually, because one thing having a system there, and Yardi is, it is a single source of the truth, but you still need good people around that, right? Yeah,
you do. And I mean, we've spent a lot of time and money investing into two key departments, so in my view, our asset management and our accounting department. So our asset management department is probably much bigger than a lot of our competitors, and with that it creates a greater level of scrutiny, because you've got per capita, you've got more people per unit. But Yardi enables us to really get into the details. So you've got one person who's absolutely living and breathing that portfolio for that client, it results in a better service.
That's great.
We can then overlay it with something like Power BI, and you're effectively upskilling a property management system, but the detail and the data that we're getting front end is much better now.
Yeah, and you're right, because Yardi's open, you can just plug that in it's away you go in terms of creating, and you're in control of your own reporting stack. I had a customer the other day say to me, Justin, it's not about what you give me as reports, it's actually about what my investors' needs are, and I need to know that and deliver it. But I just need the system to be able to query.
Yeah, our guys, they're loving the system. They're getting to grips with it. Great. Every day is a learning day at the moment.
Yeah, of course.
We've had it online for a number of months.
Yes.
And we're finessing it all the time.
Of course.
One of the items we've sort of seen is as the sector changes, we've got all of the sort of legislative changes coming in that revolve around, renewals and the open-ended nature of tenancy agreements. We suspect that we'll end up tracking certain tenant propensities for renewals rather than on an expiry profile, for example.
Yes.
So the type of data that Yardi enables us to capture at a CRM level, it tracks right the way through, and then we can track patterns, usage patterns. So, having that information at our fingertips has really been hugely valuable.
That's great.
And that's just using.
I think you're right on that, because it's going to be tough to forecast. Because there's open-ended leases, it's going to be tough to forecast. So you need other characteristics rather than an end date of a lease. Yeah. So I think that's a great point. I do have a question. So just knowing a little bit about your implementation and some of the challenges your clients put on you and how you're able to meet their needs, is the number of websites that you've done on Yardi, which is incredible. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I was told the other day, I think we transferred 22 websites.
Yes, but I think there's more now.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, it's been phenomenal, really.
Yeah.
What I would say is it's created cheaper websites for our clients, better performing websites when you actually look at the algorithms
and the analytics.
The analytics. It's been amazing, really. I wish I could remember the stat in terms of the number of visitors we'd had, but it was in
I should have looked that up too, but I haven't got it.
I think it was in the hundreds of thousands of visitors within a 6-month period. So you can imagine, not only you're getting to understand the people who aren't actually going to rent a property off you, you're getting to understand the type of people who are, and who are and who aren't. So actually there's learnings there as well. But the websites themselves, multiple themes. Obviously our clients have different personalities. They have different desires for their product. So it's been that transition of moving websites has been very, very easy. Or maybe it's been made to look easy by...
No, but I think it's worked very well, because I think you're so right, that every client has a different kind, they're very particular about the look and feel. The fact that Yardi has the platform to be able to accommodate that and be able to produce those websites quickly means you can mobilize a client very quickly, which is great for them in terms of lease up, great for you in terms of income.
Slate Yard's a great example of that. Our client purchased this building from L&G, and obviously you don't port the website.
No.
And there was a website live and active within 48 hours, which even by my sort of Luddite standards, I know that's quite good.
It's very good, and a big shout out to our reach team who made that happen too. I think it's sometimes overlooked that we can create, kick-ass websites that are already optimized.
The optimization's been really strong.
Yes.
So the detail that we can see behind the performance of a website that was already functioning compared to a brand new site, and the brand new site is there on the first page of Google. It's really performing. Many of the websites they've come out of a completely different operating system and then into Rent Cafe, and then but the client wouldn't be able to tell. They've been very happy with it, and now for us it's about working out what extra functionality we can drop in. And we are still learning, but what we do find is we find Yardi very engaged in terms of helping us to explore what the art of the possible is. So.
No, well, we love working with you, and I think the important thing is that the partnership continues to grow and expand, and that constantly we're evolving to support this market, and increasingly with single family homes kind of expanding so fast. It's great to see your progress in that area. I mean, we've gone, I think it's 16 sites we've launched over the last 12 months. Wow. We know that's going to be at least the same probably for the remainder of the year. Loading brand new sites into Yardi has been very, very easy. The infrastructure is designed for those ETLs to go in and to be done very nicely. What I've been pleasantly surprised by is the ease with which our sort of analysis team who sit within our asset management department have been able to learn a new skill that and then transfer a site out of another operator's system. It's not even your own, and then drop it into our system. And it's quite a skill though, quite a skill doing that.
It is
mobilising quickly. I have a couple more questions. So and we may have touched on this, but I'll ask you anyway, and it might be a repetition. Can you share an example of how Yardi has gone over and above in helping you with a certain situation, a challenge that you've had?
I think the website has been phenomenal in terms of the assistance. You don't onboard a new operating system overnight. It takes a period of months. And probably to the sort of annoyance of our project team, we were also winning new instructions at the same time. So
I seem to remember a call.
Yes.
The project rollout. Can we change it?
We did. We took a portfolio in Wembley at quite short notice on the 1st of January. Interesting time of year to take a handover, but it worked. It happened.
Yes, it did.
All of those customers are experiencing a Yardi product now, and they're benefiting from it. So, and that includes a new website, but it includes a new app. It includes access to all of the things they used to get, but then additional services like, you can book your amenity, you can access a video on how to use your washing machine. All those things are available, and they're all skinned. So
that's right.
To be able to do that in such short order, because I think there was a 3 or 4 week window there where you didn't know anything about it. To me, having a conversation with you sorry, not sorry. I've got this problem, and then away we go. I look at the way you guys have sort of helped support us. We needed a lot of support for that 1st of January transfer, but if you look at this sort of the mid-April transfer that we made, you've effectively helped us train up our own in-house team.
Perfect.
And again, that's if we can do it ourselves with assistance, pick up the phone, how do we make this ETL, how do we transfer this in, and great. And effectively there's 1,000 units there that were already operational, all with that existing history, tenant history, amenity booking history, have all been hoovered into your system, and they're all operating. So
it takes two. It takes two to do that. So thank you. One of the areas I just want to touch on is, and it's something that in build to rent, single family homes, co-living, we talk about, is resident experience. And investors, whilst always looking for the best return, resident experience is still a very important measurement. And I know the Rightmove have got the Home Views launch next week, which we're super excited about. In terms of what you're seeing with resident experience, having put in Yardi, and your home views ratings on some of the assets that you've got.
Yeah.
Are you able to share what trends you've seen?
You mean in terms of sort of the Yardi experience?
Yeah, and I guess home views ratings increasing. Yeah. I know you've won some awards.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we're currently single family housing operator of the year, and we have first, second, and third on BTR sites under 300 units. Yes. So I think we know what good customer service looks like. We looked at the Yardi app and thought that was an upgrade on what we'd been providing previously. That was a significant decision because we were clearly providing good customer service before. Yeah. But what I wanted to do was to elevate that, and I don't think you can sit still. And I think the Yardi app will enable us to be able to continue to provide everything that was being done before, but then provide greater detail on resident engagement.
And I think that's one of the points that's important, is it's not just a case of having a pretty app. That's not resident experience. It's about having the data and the functionality being accurate, being able to get a bill, pay a bill, book an amenity straight away, and have that updated everywhere. And so that ultimately your on-site teams can provide an up-to-date experience, I think.
Yeah, and we obviously have fairly standard protocols, I suppose. We have an Allsop way of doing things, and having a system that is consistent is really important to us. So being able to work with your app, for instance, and being able to this tailoring that we can do in and around it, but we know that the control mechanisms are there within the app. Having access to the data in a much more detailed format, what usage patterns are, when do people use it, enables us to send push notifications at certain times. The amenity booking and the sort of ancillary services booking process within your app is much better than what we had before. We were pretty limited on that, if I'm honest. We could book amenity, but the payment process was a little clunky. It's much easier now.
Because often it has to be done outside of systems.
And customers don't want to see that. They want, even if it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, they want it to feel.
There's no smoke and mirrors.
No, there isn't. No, but people want to feel like it's all there in one place, and our clients need to know that as well, because they see it as obviously it's a risk ultimately. There's a data integrity piece there, and this type of thing leads on to ISO accreditation, which is much easier to achieve if we're dealing with a third-party software.
I was going to say it's often overlooked slightly by having a broader stack of technology. Things like ISO accreditation, compliance with GDPR become a much easier job for your teams to do than having many different systems, because probably that would be a tough thing to be compliant.
It is. I mean, we have to think about this stuff. Our clients are thinking about it, so we have to take it very, very seriously. And we have blue chip names there. They don't take any risks.
No.
So the security of data is massive for us. Massive.
That's good to know. One last question in terms of what's next in terms of the Allsop world and the growth. I know you've got ambitions to scale even more. But do you have any views on technology in terms of what's next for you?
I think I'm really interested to see where AI goes next. I know you guys are as well. I think the leasing journey in particular, I'm really interested to see how it progresses. Repairs and maintenance as well.
It's repetitive tasks really. AI will help automate a lot of that, and we're excited about launching TatIQ, so we'll be knocking on your door saying
and we're, as a business, we like to be at the forefront of things. So we like to be able to innovate. Our clients are interested in it. We're interested in it. I think anything that drives efficiencies means you're much more likely to make certain schemes stack up. And if they do, then they get built, and then we've got more management. So I've got a vested interest in tech for that reason.
You said that.
I think
I've not looked at it like that.
That's I'm purely selfish individual.
No, I think it's a great point. Yeah.
But I think the AI piece, I think bots embedded within websites is interesting. I think looking at how people even move their mouse cursor over the web page and where they might dwell and where they might move on, because I think you start to glean an interest in what they're actually interested in from that. And sometimes people aren't actually able to articulate why they're looking at something.
No.
You know, why was it interesting there? But we just know it is. Well, if there's an inherent sort of appetite to see something and be interested, it will push that further up the web page and make your stuff more engaging. I think the integration of smart locks, I think we're going to see more and more of that.
Agree.
And we're really keen to progress that. We're doing a lot of smart lock tech on our single family housing especially. So viewings, tracking that type of data, the propensity for someone to sign up if they had a remote viewing as opposed to an accompanied viewing. The more I can funnel into the same place and then assess it and analyse it and then help clients make investment decisions and also make my own platform more operationally efficient, the better. And I fully expect Yardi to be able to help me do that. That's one of the reasons why we went with you guys, was because you've got scale that I will never achieve. So your ability to be able to invest in a solution for something is, you're going to get there before I can. So I'd rather influence it and get what I want rather than try to design it.
Absolutely welcome. Absolutely welcome. Well, really, that kind of concludes the questions that I was going to ask. Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
Oh, good God. Other than dropping soft now, I think I'm interested to know when the AI piece might launch. I don't know whether you guys is that public knowledge yet?
No, it is absolutely public knowledge. So Yardi has a program called Virtuoso. And Virtuoso is a name of initiatives that are all AI driven, and they go right across the Yardi suite from chatbots. So in the US, we've seen the use of chatbots is absolutely extraordinary in terms of the time that it saves. Chatbots being able to answer almost 97% of all questions being asked. And then the other element of that is things like, when do people actually ask questions, and they do it out of hours. So ultimately chatbots have a massive role to play, and when they have access to not only a private open AI cloud, but also the data in your database, that power is unbelievable in terms of you're right, you could probably go through and complete a leasing journey online if you wanted, and that will be blended in with a communications hub, which will allow text, WhatsApp, emails, chat, and potentially even voice. So we're still looking at the voice bit, but because I think sometimes you do need to speak to someone. So I'm excited about that. There are other areas of AI within the business. So the way you'll use software will ultimately change. We're seeing it with Microsoft today, we see it with HubSpot, we see it with all the tools, is that there's inbuilt assistance within the software. So Virtuoso will have that assistant where you can just ask it to get you the data, and it will. So I think that stuff is super exciting, and we're looking for some launches in the UK towards the end of this year. So we'll be knocking on your door when we're kind of ready, looking for early adopters, because I think it is, over the next 5 years, we're going to see some major shifts in the way we work. I do think it is about being more human and allowing your teams to get better data and spend time on helping residents. But ultimately, it's a tool that will just help you run your business better and streamline many repetitive.
I think you're right. I think it'll help you understand. It'll help you understand your customer better. And it'll help you understand the unit that you're managing better.
Agree.
And if you've got smart tech coming in on all of your appliances, on your boilers, if you can start to track that through as a AI driven preemptive maintenance. and then it raises the job for you.
It makes sense, right? And so there's, on the Yardi suite, there's some really exciting things coming at the end of this year, and AI powers much of that. So it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see what you come up with, actually.
Yeah.
So
I'm pleased you asked.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thank you so much
it's been a pleasure
for taking the time and allowing me to ask you lots of probing questions. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for the partnership. We really enjoy working with Allsop. We think you're a fantastic team. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No,
much appreciated.
Thank you.
Right.